If you want a brand that is going to stand out in today's market and get people referring you without you having to ask, you have to stop treating it like a pretty sticker you slap on top of things and start treating it like an expansive universe your audience gets to be a part of. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the difference between a brand and a brand universe and why one of them is far more likely to gain you customer loyalty, referrals, and the success that you're looking for. Now, when I ask people, what do you think of when you hear the word brand? A lot of the responses I get fit into a single category. You've got usually logos, you've got colors, typography, maybe messaging, but it tends to be a very narrow view. And oftentimes are those 2D assets or those little deliverables that you get from either a designer or copywriter that you wind up working with. Now, the problem with this narrow view is that it leaves out a lot of the key pieces that actually increase trust with a buyer. And trust is what you need in a brand in order to get people to purchase from you, to tell people about you, and to come back again and again. A brand universe, on the other hand, is a far more expansive way of looking at and developing a brand for your small business. And it is what I encourage all of my clients to do, and honestly, anyone that I come in contact with and I'm talking to. And it's because it is built on this idea of intentionally curating and building trust with your buyers through specific stages. I'm going to walk you through that. I'm going to walk you through my brand caliber standard, which is exactly what I take all of my clients through to help them build out a brand universe. Now, before we do that, I want you to see the difference here. We're going to use Disney as an example, okay? Look at this slide here. We've got their logo, we've got their colors, we've got one of their little symbols. Is this what makes you buy from them? If we're being honest with ourselves, no. People aren't buying from a brand because of a logo or because of a color choice. Even Nike. People aren't buying Nike because of a swoosh. They're buying it because of the story that is behind that swoosh symbol and the brand universe that Nike created. Now let's look at Disney's brand universe. You see how it is far more expansive? There are more opportunities for a buyer to interact with the brand when we look at it this way, and there's more reason for the buyer to make a purchase or to tell someone about that brand because of what is built here in this universe. Now, you can see on this wheel, there are different sections. This is the brand caliber standard, and I'm going to walk you through each of these parts, which is what makes up a brand universe. So we're gonna look at the first section, which is strategy. Now, a lot of businesses will do this, but there's also plenty of room for improvement here. The first chunk of strategy is the identity core. These are the things like what you believe, what matters to you, your mission, your values. And let's talk about why this builds trust. You see, people are far more likely to trust a brand whose intentions feel clear and who feels in alignment with their own individual values, missions, and perspectives. And so when you can create and define your identity core, you are setting yourself up to be connected with various buyers who share a similar identity and perspective. The next section of strategy is your belonging definition. So this is clearly stating and creating things that allow your buyers to know that your product or service or brand is for them specifically. It's about making the right people feel like this is the brand for me. Now, when we are looking at trust, humans are far more likely to trust something that feels like a familiar group to them. The example I like to use is middle school. When you are entering a middle school dance, or you're going to a new school for the first time, you would be looking for a group of people that feels familiar. And so when you can create that familiarity in your brand through this belonging definition, through letting people know this is specifically for you, you are already increasing the likelihood of trust. And then the third section in this strategy category is the differentiation boundary. And this is all about clearly defining what makes your brand emotionally, socially, and behaviorally different from other brands in your category. This is the why should they choose you over someone else. Now, the reality is human brains are constantly scanning and categorizing information. And so the more clear you can be in your differentiation boundary, the easier it is for a potential customer to categorize you how they need to. And this quick categorization and that clarity helps build trust. Now let's look at the second part of the brand caliber standard, which is also the second part of this brand universe build. This is all about direction, which is how your brand universe gets experienced. So the first section here is going to be the shared symbolic language. This is all about the repetition of specific symbols or phrases that connect with your audience. See, humans trust what feels familiar. And so when you are able to have this through line of this language that they can connect to, they're able to start recognizing you bit by bit without you having to give a full explanation or have your full brand presence there at all times. Again, the example I like to use for Disney are the little Mickey Mouse ears. When you see that, you immediately know Disney, and then Disney has spent the time creating the story behind them that gets pulled up in your mind. The goal of this section is to make it easier for people to recognize you. So they don't have to relearn your brand and what you stand for every time. The emotional connection gets pre-programmed based on how frequently they are seeing this symbol. And again, that familiarity is a baseline of trust building. The next section is the experience pathway design. And this is all about designing how someone is going to move through your brand's experience. A lot of times businesses will focus very heavily on the buying process. So first touch point to the sale and cool, awesome, done, sealed, great. But when you actually do this correctly, when you're building a brand universe, you are looking at all of the ways that a person is interacting with your brand, not just getting them through the buying process, but how are they interacting with you outside of the buying process? How are they interacting with you post purchase? And how can you intentionally design these to reduce friction and make the process as predictable and seamless and smooth as possible for your buyers? Because humans trust predictable experiences. And when you can provide that predictable experience for someone, you already increase the connection between them and your brand. And that connection is one of the through lines for trust. And then the third section of the direction category is brand world rituals. These are ways that your audience can interact with your brand repeatedly that do not involve purchasing from you or consuming your content. I want you to think of these as like altruistic experiences that people can have with your brand. It has nothing to do with getting them to buy something from you. It is just their opportunity to experience your brand. Patagonia does a really good job of this. They host events that gather together people in their community to focus on similar topics that they care about, like conservation and things like that. It has nothing to do with their products, but is a way for people who fit their ideal client, who share a similar mission to them, to get together and interact. They are the steward of that experience. You want to be giving people an opportunity to participate in your brand. You want them to feel that connection, and that happens when you open up these rituals, when you have these chances for interaction that have nothing to do with buying. Because when someone has a chance to participate in something like this, they are far more likely to, number one, have a good experience, but also invite other people to participate too. People aren't necessarily inviting their friends and family members to sales calls, right? But if your brand is hosting a workshop to learn a new skill or to teach a framework of some sort, that's an opportunity for them to invite others to learn about what it is that you do. If they're hosting an event like Patagonia does to talk about conservation, something that their people really care about, that their mission aligns with, again, more people are going to be invited to that, and they get to experience the brand, build familiarity with it, build connection, which makes them more likely to trust you so that they purchase, stay with you, buy again, and tell others about you down the line. And then the final section of this framework and of the brand universe build is the execution side. This is how it actually materializes, the entire system materializes into reality. So these are things like your digital assets, so your website build, your social media templates, physical assets, so if you send things out to clients, if you've got packaging for products, and then your signal broadcasting as well, which is about all of the channels that you are on to make sure that you are consistent. So wherever someone finds you, they know that your brand is yours. Together, these three things create the brand universe that actually gets people wanting to talk about your brand. As opposed to just being a logo that you slap onto something, it is what actually builds the emotional resonance, the trust, and the excitement around talking about what you do. Again, let's look at the difference. We have a brand, and then we have a brand universe. Which one are you more likely to tell people about? If you've been watching this and you're like, you know what, I want a brand universe for my brand. I know that I've been treating my brand just like regular assets and it makes sense why this isn't working for me. Go ahead and apply to book a discovery call. We can talk about what a brand universe could look like for your brand specifically, what next steps would be for you, and if you and I would be a good team to partner to build that out for you. In the meantime, keep killing it. I'll see you in the next one.